everybody. You're listening to Fireside Paranormal Podcast. My name is Jordan Cline, and as always, we have a great show planned out for tonight. Tonight is a party. We have Iron City Paranormal, as well as a special guest co-host. Before we get to that, though, just a few announcements. Newsly is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you'd like, from sports, science, to Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It'll find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. They also have podcasts, so explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. My show, Fireside Paranormal Podcast, is there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code FIRESIDE, where the eyes are ones. I'll also put that in the description, and you receive 1 month free premium subscriptions. Also, make sure you check out American Paranormal Magazine at paranormalzine.com. They still have their voting open right now for Paranormal Investigator of the Year. That's also open to podcasters and authors. I would appreciate it if you get out there and put my name in. I want to give American Paranormal Magazine another shout out just for the fact that they signed up for my Patreon. That's right. Every subscription to the Patreon gets a name drop on the show and American Paranormal Magazine through their support behind the show, and I wholeheartedly appreciate them. Thank you so much. If you want to jump onto the Patreon, we do have several different tiers for you. The $1 tier gets you a name drop and 1 bonus audio. The $3 tier gets you a 1-inch sticker, a name drop, and 2 bonus audio. The $5 tier gets you the name drop, a 3-inch sticker, and all bonus audio. And then we have a $20 tier where you get the 3-inch sticker, the all bonus audio, and something really special. Once a month, we're going to do a drawing where the winner is a part of the show. That's right. It is called Join Me by the Fire, and you will be a part of the show. So much appreciation for those that have already signed up. And if you want to sign up for it too, go to patreon.com/firesideparanormal. I also want to share with you guys a show that I recently found. It's called Lullaby, the Fear Podcast. It's quickly become one of my favorite true crime podcasts to listen to, and I'm going to play you the promo.
If it's dark, twisted, and mysterious, then I want to dissect every possible explanation as to why it is. I want to understand the dark psychology of the most dangerous serial killers, from the day they were born to the moment they snapped. I want to examine every cryptic conspiracy and even delve into the haunted paranormal. Join me, Ashley Lana, as I explore the obscure. This is Lullaby the Fear Podcast. Sweet dreams are made of these.
Do yourself a favor. If you are into true crime, check that podcast out. You will not be disappointed. This week's featured story is coming in from Dan from Wheeling.
All right, my name's Dan. I'm from Wheeling, West Virginia. This event happened about approximately 4 years ago. I was out camping with a lady friend south of Morgantown, West Virginia. I was basically on top of a hilltop. Highest elevation point in the area, and it was about 2 a.m. and I'm smoking a cigarette, and I look up and see a burning bright ball of fire in the sky. Yeah, and I'm like, "Is that the moon?" And I was like, "That can't be the moon. It just doesn't, when you see something in particular and it just strikes you as completely out of place."
Like, was it the size of the moon?
It was the size. It looked like the sun. But it was 2 a.m. and I found the moon in the sky in the other part of the sky, and so I was like, it's not the moon, and it's obviously not the sun. It's 2 a.m. and it didn't hurt to look at, but it was just an orange ball of fire in the sky, or it appeared to be an orange ball of fire, and we're in a pretty remote area. There's no industry or anything like that around, and it's pretty high up, and I watched it. Stay stationary for about 15 minutes and just disappear. And yeah, just looking at it, and you just know at that time you're like, this isn't supposed to be there. What I'm looking at right now, so that was pretty strange. And then I had another. Now this was this is another event, but I had a definite encounter with some shadow figures.
Really?
Yeah. Now this is stepping off into a different bound of it, but I was actually in Tulum, Mexico, and did a Tepezcohuite ceremony. So it's dimethyltryptamine, 5-MeO-DMT. But that was my first time, experiencing anything of that nature. And but one thing that really stuck with me after that experience was these menacing, dark figures that I encountered that just filled me with absolute terror. Just felt like it was the most beyond what you could ever experience as terrifying, and as they kind of jeered. I felt like they were jeering at me and mocking me.
Really?
Yeah, and I just felt like they were talking smack to me, in other words, but it was, way beyond just being ridiculed. It was just like zapping all the life and energy out of you at once, and it was a pretty terrifying experience for that short amount of time that I was encountering them. And I always kind of chalked it up to like, these things exist in some other, in my mind, they exist in some other dimension, something, and that's how, to be able to access that dimension. So, but those are my stories.
Thank you so much, Dan. And if you out there want to have your story as one of our featured stories, make sure you send me an email at firesideparanormalpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to get you on. All right, I want to get to my guest. Join me by the fire as we welcome several people. Tonight is a special night. Like I said, I got some big things in store. So I actually have a co-host tonight for this interview, and it is Miss Kristen from the ParanormGirl Podcast. Kristen, you there?
Hey, I'm here. What's up, Jordan?
Hey. And the guests that we're interviewing tonight, all the way in from Pittsburgh, Derek and Dan from Iron City Paranormal.
Yo, yeah, we just flew in. I'm glad to be here.
And boy, are my arms tired.
Boy, are my arms exhausted. Yeah, no, thanks for having us, guys.
Really excited. How y'all doing?
Wonderful. We are doing wonderful.
Now, I want to hear your group. How long have y'all been around?
We have been around 5, going on 6 years in the paranormal investigating area, let's say. We've been around individually for about 34 years, but doing the paranormal stuff about 5, going on 6.
Now, that was good. I caught that. It took me a second. With paranormal, what got you into it?
So oddly enough, Derek and I have always been, ghost buddies, let's call it. Since we were in grade school, we were, very good friends playing ball together. We'd go to horror movies, as kids, just as friends. We were always intrigued by this kind of stuff. I was scared more than he was. But for his bachelor party about 5 going on 6 years ago, just as a surprise, instead of going, to a strip club or something, we decided to take Derek ghost hunting for the first time. We didn't have any equipment with us or anything else. We just started there.
Which is the next best thing.
It really is. I mean, our wives were very excited for the fact that we weren't going to strip clubs and we were just going to hang out in an old gross building. So it definitely helped.
We actually, for my bachelor party, we went and got tattoos.
Nice.
We're like, tattoo shop.
Perfect. We just investigated a haunted tattoo shop, so we can bond over that.
What was going on there?
So it was actually way more than we thought we would get into on that. There were people that had seen, it was patrons of the tattoo shop as well as artists of the shop for the last 10 years have seen tall, dark figure that would stand in the doorways while they would be tattooing, and this thing would watch them, and they have mirrors all over the place, so it's like a ghost playground, and people had seen it. People that were getting tattoos would see this figure. Things would move, things would make noise.
Wow.
So when I was getting tattoos there, I bonded with the owner, John. It's After Hours Tattoo Shop in First, Pennsylvania. And, just started, bull crapping about like what we're into kind of thing. And the paranormal thing came up. And he's like, oh, no kidding. Our shop is haunted. So he kept telling us. So we, invited us to come out. We did an investigation there. And we actually contacted, it's a demon that's associated with sleep paralysis called the Hat Man that had shown up on several different things. So it's actually way more than we thought we'd get into. But yeah,
Wait,
pretty
can
cool.
I ask a question? The figure that everybody was seeing, are you saying that was the Hat Man, or you contacted that during the investigation?
So we think that it was the Hat Man that everybody was seeing, because they all talked about this large shadow figure wearing a top hat kind of thing, just in shape. It was purely a shadow figure. So then we had a medium that was teleconferencing with us on a cell phone, for the investigation. He was actually, we didn't tell him anything about this Hat Man, or we didn't even know about the Hat Man, to be honest with you. We caught a tall figure on our SLS camera. It was creeping around behind me, and he picked up, and after the investigation, he contacted us and was like, hey, do you mind if I run this by a buddy of mine that's a demonologist in London? He's like, I think that we may have been messing with this Hat Man. Told us about it and everything else. The demonologist that's in London confirmed it and said that he had been making appearances throughout the world, because he comes whenever there's times of grief and strife, and the pandemic was going on, and at the time, still with the Ukrainian conflict with Russia and everything else, he's very common whenever things are like that. And we're in a tattoo shop where there's pain and all this stuff going on. So we had to kind of take a step back and wondering what the heck we were doing there, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here lately that have been reporting on the Hat Man.
I don't know if you touched on it too much, Dan, but we didn't even know that the first time we were going into it.
No.
And then we started catching shadows, and it all kind of tied together.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, I missed the first part of what you said. It clicked out. You want to repeat that? Or Derek.
Oh, just the first time that we investigated that spot, we were unaware of anything else than just shadows being there. So then all these pieces started to fall into place. And once we started to hear about this Hat Man, everything pulled together. So we had no idea what we were getting into at first. There were shadows, there were footsteps, there were all this started to just tie together. And we actually captured a shadow moving in the mirror. And that's when we started to put all these pieces together, and we started to do more research on this Hat Man. And that's when everything actually started to make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wow, what a fascinating character. I'm absolutely fascinated by the Hat Man phenomenon. Jordan, you were saying more people are reporting?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have been reporting the Hat Man here lately. I get a lot of emails. I get people messaging me, hey, what is this about? Who is it? What's going on? So it's really neat that you guys are tying it all in.
Yeah, that's amazing, huh?
So what kind of evidence did you get? What happened
it's really
during the investigation?
The last 6 to 8 months that it's all started.
You said in the last 6 to 8 months?
Yeah, I mean, that's when it really seems to have been picking up. So it's interesting that we were able to kind of get into that spot. And Jordan, you're talking about you starting to hear about a lot more of that too. So it just seems like something's clicking. I mean, like Dan was saying, maybe it was the pandemic, the Ukrainian stuff, all this negativity that's happening now. It seems to start it seems to be building to this.
Wow. Now, how often do things like that happen for you? How often have you seen the Hat Man, do you think?
We honestly believe it was only that was the first location that we've ever made contact with him. And thank God, because the guy's creepy. If you read up. I mean, it sounds like you guys are familiar with him. I mean, it's not something I want to mess with more than once, Right. Even that's too much.
So what kind of other evidence did you guys get at that location? Was it a lot of just personal stories, or were you catching like EVP with it?
So we got, so there was 2 locations. It was the barber shop and then the tattoo shop and the barber shop that he owns 2 doors down that we could access the basement in. In the barber shop, especially in the basement, we had captured on a thermal camera. You can see a small, the medium that was on the phone with us was saying that there were people or things surrounding me, like walking around me while I was in the basement. And on the thermal camera, while he said that, Derek captured I was, crouched over, like kind of like a catcher. And there was a figure that was about the same height as me while I was crouched down that walked in between me and the camera. And you can actually see its figure on the thermal camera showing up colder than me. And it's a perfect little human shape with arms and everything else.
Do you have that like online anywhere?
Yeah, we do. And to top that off, thermals don't usually produce this either. This is what really threw us off. Is it almost is blur. It's like a blurry motion that you can see moving back and forth. No rhyme or reason why, and we tried to debunk it a lot. We just tried to recreate certain things, and nothing was working. But this is not something normal in our thermal cameras that we've ever really seen before. But yeah, it is. It's on our website, IronCityParanormal.com. It's on all of our social media. And we'd be more than happy to send it to you directly to check it out.
Yeah, that's incredible. See, with thermal, you don't really get much evidence, but the evidence when you do get it is awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's neat when it works. It's worth every penny when you get that one thing. You know?
And you might only get that one thing.
Hey, that's okay. It's worth the price of admission.
Now, Kristen, have you ever been on an investigation?
I have, actually. I've been on 2. One was right before we left Los Angeles, and we got to investigate. It's where my partner was working, but it used to be an old mortuary, and still had like that set up, like that kind of, set up in the back a little bit. So we got to investigate it after hours. And then one of the trips that we made to New Orleans before we moved here, it was a paid thing, but it was still really cool and really like genuine. It was out back, this main house, and it was in it used to be an old like slave quarters, and then they turned it into like a hospital kind of waiting to die area. But yeah, it was really creepy. It just but very, very fun, very interesting. But those are the only 2 investigations I've ever been on, so I'm dying to go on another one.
And guys, this is why it's really funny, because she lives in New Orleans and is dying to go on an investigation.
Oh wow!
You would
just walk outside.
Oh my gosh! I live outside of New Orleans, so where I'm at, we have the Honey Island Swamp Monster, which is an entirely different type of supernatural. But no ghosts here in my area. But yeah, I got to make it back into town and just walk around.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Now, guys, when you go on investigations, do you choose more of the residential areas? Do you like to do the pay to play kind of places? Where do you set yourselves?
So when we started, we would do the pay to play always. Just because they were accessible, they were places. Derek and I don't need criminal records for ghost hunting, so we try to stay legal with everything that we do. So we would go to the places that come with the stories, that are well known, that you pay for the night. We started with public investigations where there's 60, 80 people, and then we kind of tried to do our own thing on the side while there were all these other people going one way, we'd go the other, and then as we got more into it, started getting equipment, the whole 9 yards. We would stick with the pay to play until really with the last year and a half, we started getting invitations to residences where people that we had interacted with in the community, would have these issues in their homes and ask us to come in and validate the kinds of things that they were seeing. So more recent.
To your point, it's not just residential either. It's all businesses, right? It's people that do spend a lot of their time in these places, and they've noticed things or they've seen things, and they more than anything want to say they want somebody to talk to about it, and they want to know that they're not completely crazy. So that's kind of where, just like the tattoo shop. I mean, it just kind of came up. It just kind of happened. I mean, we've even, as of recently, we've been to undisclosed locations out in a place like Gettysburg where there's a lot of stuff to do, but this one was so far off the beaten path. It really wasn't Civil War, war related, but it was definitely a different. I mean, we got a lot of stuff there, but it was not your stereotypical Gettysburg trip where we're paying to go to a well-known area with well-known stories, and those are the kind of things that recently I think has been hitting closer to home for us and been more personal.
I just had a quick question back to what you were saying about people wanting you to come in and validate what they were seeing. Have you found yourselves to be pretty successful with that, like actually finding and documenting the things that the people are seeing, or do you go into places and you just don't find anything? Like, how do you deal with that situation when you don't?
With the residences that we've done, luckily, let's say, we've come in contact and validated the things that they were seeing without them telling us. And what Derek was saying, with it being like a personal tie to things, we actually did a relative's house. It was my wife's uncle that had passed away. And her aunt was very intrigued by possibly us coming in to see if he was still with her. And we got him to validate that it was him through devices that were, they weren't up for interpretation, let's say. We were using an obelisk device where it actually spells out the words that it sees a variation in EMF reading, and then it correlates a word to that variance. So it spits out a word, and we were getting words on that device asking for things that only her aunt would know to validate that it was him, and we would get things that would break her into tears because of how accurate they were.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's much different of an experience than, like Derek was saying when we started. Like, it's different when you go into a prison and there's all these people that we have no idea who they are, what they're about, versus going into a location where somebody, whether it's family or somebody that asks us to come in, is personally tied to the spirit, and they're able to verify through the results that we get without knowing what's going on. They're able to validate what we get that way, and we're able to do the same for them. We're able to validate that these people are still with them.
Wow.
When you go in, because you talked about some of your equipment there, what type of equipment do you use?
Derek, you're our equipment guy. Let's hear it.
Well, I mean, you want the laundry list, or do you want kind of what we get the most?
You can tell them the things our
evidence on.
Know that we have. Don't give them too many secrets.
Don't worry, they won't listen. So
Yeah.
we can talk about it.
It's true.
I mean, honestly, my favorites are simple.
Yep.
They're just recorders, they're EVPs, they're things like flashlights and REM pods, things that are very simple and very difficult to say, no, that's crap. That's just a weird noise. That's just that's just coincidence. I mean, we do have everything that we can afford, let's say. I mean, we have the SLS cameras, we have the obuses, we have the Phasma box, the Spirit box. I mean, all of these things are great, and they all definitely help and add to things. But honestly, it's the simple that's the best, in my opinion. There's a lot of times where we will believe, or we'll get a feeling or experience something that you can hear on a spirit box, or even something that you can't really see. But then it's up for debate, right? I mean, that's your personal experience. That's your interpretation of something. However, there are other times, like we were attempting. I referenced Gettysburg again. That's probably one of my favorite places, haunted or not. But where there were stories about mistreatments of children particularly using a hammer. We were trying to contact them. We were using a spirit box in hopes of hearing something. And honestly, we didn't get much with the spirit box, not right off the bat at least. However, very clearly on the EVP, you could hear a hammering noise repeatedly.
Man. Wow.
Yeah, so Derek looks like he's having some internet trouble. So we, like he was saying, the simple stuff works well. The other stuff, we get some really cool stuff out of all of our equipment. But just more recently, just using mini mag lights, setting them to where they're almost on, like right on the cusp of being on and off. We'll have spirits turn them on. We've played games with little children's spirits using the lights where they would turn one on, then I'd ask them to run across the room and turn the other one on as quickly as they can. It'll go over and turn that one on. Just those kind of devices are cheap and they're a lot of fun to mess with.
I do have a question for you. He had mentioned REM pods. What is a REM pod?
So a REM pod, I don't know what REM pod stands for, but it's like a little device that has an antenna on it that when you turn it on, it calibrates to the atmospheric electromagnetic field surrounding the device, and it considers that its baseline. And then theoretically, spirits that are made of energy can, when they get close to it, it's like a proximity kind of thing. So once they get within that bubble of the EMF field that it's calibrated to, it will modify that field and alarm on the device to let you know that something is near it. It has lights on it. It'll buzz and make noises, so that when, like I said, when something gets close to it, we can use it to guide us to an area so that we can start asking questions, because that's a spirit that's there trying to acknowledge the fact that we have devices and they want to talk with us. Or we can use them as yes, no kind of questions. Once we get on them, we can say, if he answers yes, get close to it, and light it up, let it make noise, and then have them step away. So we'll use it both ways. But that device is widely known. It's a very common device, which all of it is anymore. But we've gotten some cool stuff with that.
There's quite a few variations on that nowadays, isn't there? A lot of different devices and different ways they'll do it to read the EMF or the energetic level in the area.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same package, just how you present it. So most of them are, again, like you said, it's just an EMF kind of reading. Looks for variations within that electromagnetic field. We have no idea if we're talking to spirits, but we like to think we are.
Hey, if you're getting responses, you're talking to something.
Yes, we think so, and I don't know if it's because we want it to be something. There have been times we'll go places you get absolutely nothing. But the guy at the tattoo shop, that's what he asked me when I was getting him some work done. He's like, what are you going to do when you die and you cross over and you realize there's no such thing as ghosts? He's like, are you going to think, what the hell were you talking to this whole time? At that point, I don't think I'll care. But
right. I was talking to somebody not too long ago about this exact thing. Like we spend so much time and energy and effort just trying to figure out what's out there. And, you think, like, how wrong we could all be. Like, it's really just like aliens with some cloaking mechanism that's just walking around, just watch what happens when I do this. Beep, 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 beep. Ah! These people are crazy. Watch. Beep, 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 beep. Ah!
No, but all this stuff is, I think it just comes down to personal preference, what you guys want to use. But I'm with you. I think simpler is better. I do. Like old school.
Like Derek was saying, it's harder to I don't want to say overanalyze things that those kind of those devices get, but like on an SLS camera, it could do who knows what, and it'll map a chair and tell you there's a person sitting in the chair. Doesn't necessarily mean there's a person sitting in the chair. It just sees something that it thinks is a person. So we do a lot when we use those kind of devices, we waste a lot of time trying to debunk what it sees. We try not to take things for face value with those because of how easily, duped, so to speak, they are.
We were talking about like the equipment that you like to use, right? You like to use the simpler, but you like to play around with other. What kind of methods do you use? Like I've heard a lot of people talk about like the Estes method and things like that. What is your go-tos with that?
So our go-to, typically we start off simple because we don't feel like dragging everything out and, going to the extreme if there's nothing in that area or there's nothing that wants to talk to us at least. So we always start as simple as possible, do a simple EVP. We introduce the area on the recording, so when we go back and Derek listens to them, because he does all the review of evidence, he's able to identify where we were at what time. We'll sit there after 5 or so minutes. We'll listen back to the recording to see if there's anything there. If there is, then we'll continue and deep dive into things with more devices.
That's also where we like to, we consider that going fishing. I mean, that's kind of how we start.
It really is, and so then we'll jump there. We usually go to the spirit box to see if there's some intelligent.
Yeah, from something like that, if we start hearing things or feeling different things, we'll go to spirit box, we'll go to phasma box. Just something that we can give them a voice. Mm-hmm. Because if something's starting to make some noise, something's starting to talk to us, then we want to continue. We want to pursue that. So even if we got to throw everything at it, flashlights, the REM pods that we were talking about, the more of those kind of devices, the better. The more reaction we'll get. But at the same time, we've had issues overwhelming them before, where we'll begin to get something. And then we literally, and that's usually my fault because I'm the one that wants to throw everything.
What do you mean usually? It's always your fault.
Always. I want to use our gadgets. But we'll throw things at it and we get nothing then. And it's almost like something moves on or it doesn't trust us anymore or doesn't know what's happening. So that has happened sometimes as well.
Now talking about your like equipment, the spirit box, I know that's the where it's like the radio dial going back and forth, going through. What's the other one you were talking about?
It's a phasma box. So it is same concept. It is actually a computer program that we just put on a laptop. I think it's $20 online, something like that. But you can run it. It runs the same way theoretically, where it uses radio waves to put noise out, but it doesn't have the white noise background of flipping through the stations. It just has words that come out of it. Okay. So we turn the microphone off on the computer so that it can't listen to us, because a computer program, like same as apps, you never know, like my phone's listening to me right now. So it's, you don't want it to be, influenced in that way. We'll turn those off, and it just, like I said, it's much clearer without all that white noise with the clicking between the radio stations. If you've never used it, it's a pretty cool app.
I've never heard of it.
$20. Yeah, it's worth the $20.
That's really neat.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be way preferable, like with the regular spirit box. I can never understand anything.
Well, so there's a few different theories behind that, and we've even been doing some research on the spirit box where something will take away that white noise and you can hear it better. However, on the flip side of it, there's a lot of research that goes into it where that white noise is what helps give them energy and give the ability to speak. So with that being said, the phasma box, sometimes if you don't have the right frequency or the right amount of energy, it might not be as easy to communicate through that.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
so
I hadn't thought about that.
We were actually talking about getting one of those noise dampeners for it, but after we talked about it a little bit, it's like you don't want to take if that's how they're communicating, you don't want to take that away. You don't want to be the one to remove that and then not have that communication line open anymore.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a spirit box. We believe it fueled a poltergeist at a church that we were investigating, where nothing happened. I mean, some noises or whatever would happen. It wasn't until we started into that spirit box, nothing was coming through it, but that constant clicking of the radio stations changing, we believe that it energized a poltergeist within the church to the point where it rattled the door. I mean, not just like little jiggle, it grabbed the door to the church on the first floor. We were up on the second floor balcony. It violently shook the door and it scared the crap out of us.
Well, especially me. If you listen back to that recording,
It's scared,
you can
especially
hear
me.
me like verbally freaking out, like dropping F-bombs and like.
Yeah,
what
you
was
want to
that?
don't talk to Derek when there's a poltergeist shaking doors.
So you guys have switched spots since you were young. Dan, didn't you say you were the one that was always scared?
Yeah, I was always trying to be realistic, thinking to myself, if this spirit or ghost or whatever the heck it is tries to come after me, I can't do anything about it. I'm defenseless. Derek's just, the exact opposite. He throws himself in front of the car to see if it'll stop, But yeah, now
Go ahead, Dan. Tell him.
what?
Who am I in horror movies?
Yeah, Derek's usually the guy that dies first in those horror movies because he hears the noise, he goes towards it. I try to be a little bit structured in my approach, but yeah, I mean, we have had a little bit of a role reversal, not so much, just a little bit. I'm not afraid of everything like I used to be, but I'm still not up to Derek's level. He's still a jerk.
Now,
that means something when I freak out like that because I don't usually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if he freaks out, it's all over.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
So, speaking of freakouts, like, what is the scariest experience for you guys? What is the one thing that's like, it scared you so much you never want to see that place again?
So I'm going to go with mine, Derek. I am 300 pounds. I am a freaking unit of a guy. And we were at the Moundsville State Penitentiary in West Virginia.
That's right by me.
We love that place. And we were up on the 3rd floor in the infirmary when we first got there. It was myself, Derek, and another gentleman that does investigate with us occasionally. But the three of us were walking down the hall, and it's pitch black. Derek has he's got
I had the thermal.
Okay, you had the thermal, I had the camcorder. We're just walking down this hallway, and I'm a little bit more sensitive to energies. I'm not by any
Let's
means.
be honest, a lot more than me.
Derek's.
I'm spiritually dead, as Dan would say.
It really is. I mean, that probably it plays into that. He'll go into rooms when there's things that will kill him because he doesn't.
Hey, recently you've given me a lot of credit for feeling some of these places and things.
I have.
So
I'm proud of you. It's like bar mitzvah. It's wonderful. But no, so we were going down this hallway, and I just had this pull, like something wanted me to go in this one room. And the room, again, it was in the infirmary, so it was where they used to have like X-ray devices and things for the prisoners. And they took obviously the X-ray devices out when they decommissioned the place, but they left the metal arms, like the swinging arms, like a dentist's office where they bring the light in and shine it on your face. They left the arms there on the wall, and there were 2 of them in the room. And when I walked into the room, I just felt like something ran across the room towards me in the dark. Like it just came up in my face, and on its way there, it actually pushed one of the metal arms, flung it up against the wall, and it got right up in my face. So on the recording, you can see the arm swing out of the way and hear it. But then all of a sudden, you see a 300-pound man fall on his ass trying to get the hell out of the room. And Derek had no idea what was going on behind me because I just had whatever like run up on me. I stumble back out of the room. I almost knocked Derek over into the next guy. So our recording is just like a whirlwind of activity with nothing happening. And it was just the most terrifying experience for me. But we went back in that room and we actually got some EVPs and things in that room. But I will say that was the scariest for me because I just couldn't control it. Like it was right up on me and that was it.
And you actually caught that arm swinging on camera?
You can hear it because it's
okay.
You can hear it hit the wall. But yeah, it came like a bat out of hell across that room at me. Like it did not want us in there.
God.
No, I know.
I'd be trampling Derek down.
Yes.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Push him
that was also my scariest moment. So
for a total different reason.
Derek's life flashed before his eyes for the 800-pound paperweight that was coming at him.
I got a cool EVP in that same area right there up in the infirmary.
Did you? That place is fantastic.
We were actually, I hosted an event there, man. This was 10 plus years ago. And, I had a group up there and, it was winding down, we had a lot of activity throughout the night. And, man, the question was like, just if you're here, knock 3 times. No lies. Bam, bam, bam. And it's like, you just hear people start cussing. They're like, well, let's get out of here. We're done.
Right? Yeah, we got what we paid for. We're getting out now.
Like loud, boom, boom. Like, oh, well.
Oh, it's so great, though. I love it. That's cool. Now, that whole area up in that infirmary was probably the best, like one of the better areas in that whole location. Pretty great stuff there.
Which is surprising just because of how many stories are in that entire building.
Yeah. And it goes to show you, right, is like Derek said earlier, we call it fishing for a reason. I mean, every time you go fishing, you don't catch anything, and that's what, if you asked us, and if this was not one of your questions, this should have been one of your questions. So I'm going to just tell you what you should have asked us. What is the most annoying thing that people do when we do investigations with other people that go with us or public? It's when they think that we're going to guarantee they're going to see a ghost. And that's just not the way that it works. We were, I think, I know it's how you found us was the Hidden Marietta team does the Blennerhassett Island investigation. We have done that 3 times now, I believe, and have gotten some absolutely phenomenal evidence there.
That's some of my favorite like visuals that we've captured there. Yeah.
So we when we were doing we were helping them run the investigation where we were like, I don't want to say celebrity because I don't want to sound full of myself, but like we were like the celebrity investigators, where people like you could come investigate with us or whatever. And this group came and they were bad mouthing the entire night because they didn't see a ghost. And it's like, that's not how this works. I don't know what you're expecting. You don't just pay $80 and they give you a ghost. Like, it's not the way that it works.
But that's also probably why they didn't see one.
That's exactly right. And that is probably the most annoying thing about what we do is people think that we can just press a button and a ghost comes out of a closet somewhere and scares you. It's terrible.
I'm just hearing that you need to try harder.
That's true. That is so true.
I also think it's really funny that you call it fishing, right?
Yes.
But you're ghost hunters and hunting's the same thing. You're like, no, we are ghost fishers.
We're ghost fishers.
We catch something way less.
Yeah. If you haven't noticed, Derek and I march to the beat of our own drum, so we got to go fishing because hunting's too obvious. It's just too obvious.
Can we trademark that? We've never thought about that.
I was just gonna say, new trend, new hashtag started right now. You heard it here, folks.
Ghost fishing. Which is actually really funny because we used to have, before we got some better equipment to carry our stuff around with us, we used to wear fishing vests where we would put all of our stuff in the pockets so that we didn't have to carry it around with us all night. And, we had spare batteries at the ready. We had the K2 meters at the ready. Yeah, they looked awesome. I mean,
that's so efficient. I love pockets. I love them.
It was like pocket overhaul. Like it was.
Yeah, until you forget which pocket you're putting something in when you need it.
That's very true. That's very true. If we weren't married, we would have gotten so many offers by wearing those vests. We look so cool.
All right.
Where do you go from there?
Now, Dan, you've talked about your scariest place. Derek, what would you say that your, most scariest? I don't even know if that's a word. Most scariest
is now.
Yeah, we can go with it.
Just like ghost fishing.
Where were you most traumatized, Derek?
Traumatized?
By a
the
ghost.
way you phrased that question originally, like where you wouldn't go back to, that doesn't exist for me. the more trauma, the better. But honestly, I've had things thrown at me in a few different locations now.
Really?
So that has gotten, at first it was very startling, but then it just kind of became commonplace.
Oh, that's bull crap. I'm going to call that out right now. That is bull crap.
Okay, it scared the hell out of me, all right?
Derek is a jerk. Like, he doesn't go full on Zach Baggins and like rip his shirt off and like yell about his tattoos or anything. But he will go into a room like, what are you gonna do to me? You know, I'm alive. Come on, you know what I mean?
I don't say things.
No,
like
he doesn't. That's how you carry yourself. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna take a picture. You know?
I'm gonna fish you so hard.
But I think that he started pissing things off just by having that presence about him where it was like, again, he's spiritually dumb. Like he cannot feel the things that are trying to tell them that he's around or that they're around. So when we were, and I want you to talk about this place, Derek, it was the Fairfield Infirmary. I have never seen you as afraid as you were in that location.
That place was odd because I did feel a lot of like heavy, dark, deep energy. Like I wasn't wanted there, and Dan didn't even feel that, at least not immediately. But I would be walking down the hall. Where was that area, Dan? It was with the handcuffs on the wall, right? Like where they would actually.
The location that I want you to talk about was up on the 4th floor. They called it the bullpen. It was where they would keep all of the true mentally handicapped, severely mentally handicapped, and like, what do they call that? Criminally insane.
Criminally insane, I believe is how they framed it. But so that whole night, it kind of started with the floor below that, actually, where there were supposed to be some children that would interact with people, and that's where I noticed. I don't even know what you would want to call it, but it was sounds of just something bouncing, almost pebbles, marbles, something like that. And we would follow them, but really didn't get anything out of it. So we didn't think much of it, old crumbling building. But we got up to this floor, and there were these old like metal rotted beds. So we just kind of sat around them. We didn't even do too much. We tried to speak. We tried some EVPs. We tried the Spirit and Phasmovox. We were getting no communication at all. Eventually, there was something you could physically, like, you could feel it bounce off the floor. And did we ever find, we found out that it looked like it was a piece of like drywall or something off of the building, but there was absolutely nothing in that room that fit that description, fit that mold. So this happened once, and I'm like, what the hell is this? What's going on? I think if I remember correctly, Dan, you wanted to leave like right away. And I'm like, wait, this is why we're here, right? Like, this is what we want. So we continued, and it happened again, the same noise. And then one of the beds moved. And then I'm like, nope, I'm out. Like, that's enough for me. That's all I need.
Yeah, it was to the point where when one of the noises would occur, it was something was throwing. They were like small pebble looking things about the size of maybe the size of a dime. Okay. But they were being thrown across the room, and they would hit up against those metal springs from the bed around.
Ricochet almost, yeah.
Yeah, so then Derek and I would go to one location, looking up at the ceiling, trying to see if there was something that was falling down off the ceiling to make that noise. Yeah. And while we were over there doing it, trying to figure out where it came from, it would throw something over on the other side at us. So then we'd go over there, and it happened on, and he said 2, but I think it was 3 times, and that was when we noped the hell out of there.
I think it was the 3rd time that we were like, all right, we're out. And we actually, I believe we tried one more room, but then we're like, you know what, we're out of here. Like, we're not going to get anything else in the state that we're in. We're done. Like that we got out of there after that.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part about having 2 people that do this. It's expensive as all hell when you split it 2 ways.
Oh, yeah.
And the other part of it is we don't have as much protection as we would like. So if if it's more than 2 people, you at least have people that are watching behind you, that are paying attention to things, so whenever it's just me and Derek in a dark room, there's only so many ways we can look, and there's only so many ways that we can kind of keep ourselves, quote unquote, safe with this stuff. And when stuff starts to do that, where it's, trying to attack you, it's trying to either make itself known or really just try to hurt you or screw with you, that's where it's like, we wish we had some more people here, at least as a comfort thing, But that location, we've tried to go back there actually with Hidden Marietta, and the plans fell through last December. But we would love to go back there with some more people. That place is huge, and we just ran out of time. And we were terrified, so we had to leave.
And we were really scared.
We were really scared.
Well,
All
at that point, I'm just curious, how do you categorize spirits like that? Do you guys go immediate, like that's demonic, it's a negative thing, like when things thrown at you, maybe scratched at you, stuff like that?
Yeah.
So I don't think that we ever. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
No. I was waiting for you. Go for it. You're much clearer now, so talk away, sir.
Thanks. So I don't think that we have ever really jumped to demonic. Hell, we don't usually jump to negative, not unless we're really pushed that way. And a lot of things that we base our evidence off of and our conclusions off of are the way that the places feel, the way that they interact and react to things that we do and say. Sometimes, like Dan was saying, I push a little bit and see what kind of reaction we get. But it's very rare that I would ever consider anything demonic. And I would say that we've never really experienced anything demonic. Negative, yes, absolutely. Hell, we just experienced our first true undebunkable, is that a word? Undebunkable poltergeist activity.
It is now. We're doing it today.
You just made it one.
God, this is
hashtag that too.
This is going to sound so good when you post it.
But no, I don't think that. I think a lot of time we get a lot of spirits or energies in more of a confused state that react to things as any person would, scared or very hidden and I just like to say confused, because you have a slew of emotions that can truly come out whenever you're confused and really don't know what's going on. And that's the same for any of us. And if you think about a spirit, it's us in a different form, a different state.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I really appreciate that approach. That's really interesting.
That's a new way to look at it too. A lot of people try to hard categorize things, but I mean, what is anybody when they're backed against the wall?
Exactly. And what would you do if, random strangers came into your house with devices that you had no idea if they would hurt you or not, and they tried to talk to you with them? And that's, when we our kind of our motto, so to speak, is we want to be respectful of what we're talking to, because like Derek said, they're people just like we are, just in a a different form or what have you. They were alive, they had children, they had families. Who are we to go into that place and treat them like they're some sideshow? So we never want to approach it that way. And in fact, we've actually kicked people out of our group because they would disrespect the places where we were, the people that were there. We don't have time for that. We don't have the energy to combat that. But our mantra is that we do everything we can to provide a voice for those that have lost the ability to speak for themselves. So we're trying to take this equipment that we're using and these techniques that we understand and that we think we understand, that we try to employ, and we give them an opportunity to speak and tell us what they're about, why they're there, what happened to them, treat them as humans, because that's what they are. And again, I'm going to make a really good ghost one day if there is such a thing. Like, I can't wait to, turn the scientific community on its ass whenever I'm like, here I am in a picture. I'll put a sheet on my head if you want me to. I don't care. Like, catch me. Yeah, no, we try to be respectful. That's our first first and only goal is to be respectful.
That's great. I mean, you really think about it. A lot of groups, when they get into it, all they want to do is prove that there's a ghost and, you know, prove that your place is haunted. And, you know, you don't really do many residential areas right now, but when you have somebody who's afraid to be in their home, right? They don't want Zach Baggins, you know, come on, bring it, and then walking out the door.
Right.
You know, hey, my 4-year-old's really scared, you know, to sleep in the room. They say there's somebody there. We've been hearing things too. And then all of a sudden, like, somebody comes in screaming like a maniac and, come on, show yourself. Well, we didn't get anything. Have a good night. Sleep well, kid. And like, you show up and everything's like banging around. You know, people forget that you're going into somebody's house.
Yeah, it's like the grandparents that take your kid and feed it all the sugar and then leave it for you to deal with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
We don't need to do that.
100%. Now, if there's somebody out there, because we do have a lot of listeners, you know, you're in Pittsburgh, I'm 45 minutes away, maybe. We have a lot of listeners in your area. If they want to get a hold of you, if they want to, do you have openings to join your group? Are you for that?
So we are all for people coming to experience things with us.
Okay.
Partly it's a little selfish as well, because when we have more people that go with us, it costs less, you know, per person. So we do not charge for investigations. We're not an event company. We do this because we enjoy it and because we get some really cool stuff that happens. So we want people.
And we've made believers out of people before. I mean,
we have
not trying to, it just kind of happens.
So you would be open, let's say if somebody was just like, hey, you know, I think it would be cool just to go experience that. Can I contact you, maybe join up with you? You know, just for a hunt or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they can use, you know, they can go with us, use our equipment. So the way we do it is we take what it costs us for the location and we divide it by how many people that are going, including ourselves. So we would charge, we would ask, all that we ask is that you would pay what we would pay, you know. So if there's $200 and there's 4 of us, we're going to all pay $50, Derek and I included. We're not making money off of this, nor do we want to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know.
Now, what if there's somebody out there who's got something going on in their home or business and they want to reach out to you? Are you cool with that?
Absolutely. Yep. So I think we got into that early. I mean, we love doing those haunts, so to speak, that have personal ties where people know the spirits on the other side. And Derek and I we have successfully cleaned an apartment before, and like not like vacuumed it. Like we actually like we went into a location and we, you know, did an investigation. We had some cool stuff happen, and then we saged the apartment. We did our, you know, our little mantra while we went through and like kind of tried to chase the bad energy out. And, you know, the people that live there, the apartment, they said that it was successful. They haven't seen the figures anymore. You know, they still feel like the good things are there still. But like,
they said they still feel like a positive energy left behind and none of that negativity lurking in the corners like they were.
Yeah. So we don't advertise ourselves as house cleaners. You know, we don't do that for a living.
Ghost maids.
What's that?
Ghost maids.
Ghost maid. Ghost fishing maids. I love it. So we are all for that, like the going to residences. We do ask for some money to do that, and the only thing we ask is if you live like 2 hours away, like could you pay our gas kind of thing, because we don't, you know, we can't be driving across the world. We have you know 9 to 5 jobs Monday through Friday. All we ask is that, you know, somebody could throw us a few bucks for gas or that kind of stuff.
That's a courtesy, especially nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely, you know.
So what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Take it away, Derek. It's all you.
Well, so you can get a hold of us on our website, ironcityparanormal.com. There's a contact us form where you can give us name, whatever's happening, or if you're interested in joining, just kind of give us an idea of your intention. From there, we will both get an email. If anyone is more on social media, we're very active on there. Instagram particularly. as well as Facebook and Twitter. That's also where we share pretty much all of our evidence as well. That's the best place to see or hear any of our captures.
Which place?
Instagram.
Instagram.
That's usually the one that's most easily publicized for the videos and clips that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We are out of time for today. I do want to thank you guys so much.
Of course.
And again, y'all being local, y'all know what you're doing. As you guys have cool investigations, things like that, reach out to me and we'll put you back on.
100%.
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
We would love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we love meeting people like yourselves and, forming these friendships, and we like to keep it going. Like I said, we don't like a one and done kind of thing. We talk about this stuff forever, as you can see.
It's all about networking, boys and girls. Networking.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Iron City Paranormal. Thank you, Kristen. Go listen to the ParanormGirl podcast. Listen to what she's about, what she does. And bye, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
And with that, the fire is out. I want to thank all of you for coming on the show. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Iron City Paranormal. And thank all of you for listening out there. I really appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't connected with me yet on social media, make sure you go to Fireside Paranormal Hub on Facebook. Check me out on Instagram, Twitter, at Fireside Parapod, Parapod, and TikTok. Can't forget about TikTok. The website is firesideparanormal.com. You can see all the sweet merch we got going on. Make sure you get yourself some Fireside merch. And if you want to join our Patreon, patreon.com/firesideparanormal. Several different tiers to choose from, and it really does support the show, and I really, really appreciate you guys. So until next week, don't be afraid, only believe.